Marcus Chun had been living in his cargo ship for 6 months. The ship was called the Dusty Horizon, and it was small. Very small. The sleeping area was barely bigger than a coffin, and Marcus had to curl his legs just to fit inside. Every morning he woke up with his back hurting and his neck stiff. He dreamed of a real bed, a real room, a door he could lock and forget about the universe outside. Kepler 7c was a trading station at the edge of known space. Thousands of aliens lived and worked there. Ships came and went every hour, carrying goods from 100 different worlds. Marcus had been hauling cargo to this station for 2 years now. He knew every dock worker, every customs officer, every cheap food stall in the lower rings. But he had never been able to get a housing berth. The waiting list was long, and humans were still new to the galactic community. They were not a priority, but today was different. Today, Marcus had received a message on his terminal. His application had been approved. After 6 months of waiting, filling forms, and bribing the right people with earthed chocolate, he finally had a place to live. The Housing Authority office was on level 47. Marcus took the lift up, standing between a tall insect-like Quellan and a short furry creature he did not recognize. The Quellan clicked its mandibles and looked at Marcus with 6 eyes. Humans made many aliens nervous. They were too adaptable, too persistent, too hard to predict. Marcus just smiled and nodded politely. The office was a large room filled with floating screens and busy workers. Most of them were Quellan, the insectoid species that ran most of the station's administration. They were very good at paperwork. They loved paperwork. To them, a perfect form was a thing of beauty. Marcus walked to the counter and waited. The Quellan official did not look up. It was reading something on its screen, all 6 eyes moving independently. Marcus waited. He was good at waiting. Humans had learned long ago that patience was power when dealing with alien bureaucracy. Other species would get angry, shout, threaten. Humans just waited, and waited, and waited some more. After 20 minutes, the Quellan finally looked up. "Name and species," it said in a flat mechanical voice. "Marcus Chun, human." The Quellan made a clicking sound. "Ah, the persistent species." It did not sound like a compliment. "You have been approved for residential berth 774 in the lower commercial ring. Standard size. Single occupancy? Do you accept these terms?" "I do. Payment is due at the start of each station month. Failure to pay will result in immediate removal. Do you understand?" "I understand." The Quellan pushed a data chip across the counter. "This contains your access codes. The lock is DNA encoded to your biology. Do not lose this chip. Replacement costs 400 credits. Marcus took the chip carefully. 400 credits was a lot of money. That was almost a full cargo run. "Thank you," he said. The Quellan had already turned back to its screen. Marcus was dismissed. He took the lift down to the lower commercial ring. This part of the station was older and less fancy than the upper levels. The walls were gray metal instead of polished white. The lights flickered sometimes. The air smelled like engine grease and alien cooking. But Marcus did not care. This was going to be his home. Berth 774 was at the end of a long corridor. The door was plain metal with a small screen beside it. Marcus pressed his thumb to the screen and held up the data chip. The door made a soft beep and slid open. The room inside was small. Very small, but it was bigger than his ship. There was a bed against one wall, a small desk against another, and a tiny bathroom in the corner. The bed was a proper sleep pod, the kind that adjusted to your body and kept you warm. Marcus had not slept in a real bed for 6 months. He walked inside, and the door closed behind him. He stood there for a moment, just breathing. The air was clean. The room was quiet. No engine noise, no creaking metal, no voices from other ships. Just silence. Marcus checked the lock 3 times. Humans were careful about security, especially when living among aliens. The galaxy was not a dangerous place, not usually, but humans had learned to be cautious. They'd only been part of the galactic community for 50 years. They were still learning the rules. The lock was good. DNA encoded, like the Quellan had said. Nobody could open this door except Marcus. He was safe. He sat down on the bed and felt it adjust to his weight. It was soft. So soft. He could not remember the last time he had felt something so comfortable. He took off his boots and lay back. The ceiling above him was plain gray metal, but to Marcus, it was the most beautiful sight in the universe. He had done it. After 6 months of struggle, he had a place of his own. No more sleeping in his ship. No more waking up with his back screaming. No more loneliness in the dark between stars. He had a home. Marcus closed his eyes. He was tired. The last cargo run had been difficult. 30 hours of flying through an asteroid field, then 8 hours of unloading heavy crates. His body ached in places he did not know could ache. But now he could rest. Really rest. He pulled a thin blanket over himself and let out a long breath. The sleep pod was warm and soft. It felt like being held by gentle hands. Marcus had not felt safe like this in a long time. Space was cold and empty and dangerous. But here, in this small room, he was protected. His last thought before sleep took him was simple. He was alone. Completely, wonderfully alone. No roommates, no crew members, no aliens asking questions. Just Marcus and his bed and the quiet hum of the station around him. He smiled and let the darkness take him. He did not know that in 14 hours, everything would change. He did not know that his solitude was about to end in the strangest way possible. He did not know that someone else had a key to his room. But for now, Marcus Chen slept. And for the first time in 6 months, he slept well. Marcus woke slowly. His body was warm, warmer than usual. The sleep pod was comfortable, but this was different. This was like sleeping next to a fire. He shifted slightly, still half asleep, and felt something soft press against his back. Something that was breathing. His eyes snapped open. His heart started beating fast. There was someone in his bed. Someone warm and alive and very close to him. He could hear soft breathing near his ear, could feel the rise and fall of another chest against his spine. Marcus forced himself to stay calm. Humans were good at this. When danger appeared, most species would panic, fight, or run. Humans would assess. They would think. They would wait for the right moment. He moved his hand slowly, checking for his belt knife. It was still there, tucked under the mattress where he had left it. Good. He had a weapon if he needed one, but he did not want to use it. Violence was always the last option. He turned his head slowly, very slowly, trying to see what was behind him. Fur. Gray and white fur, thick and soft. A pointed ear. A long nose. The creature behind him looked like a wolf, but larger and shaped more like a human. Its eyes were closed. It was sleeping peacefully, curled against Marcus like he was a source of heat, a Valorian. Marcus had seen them on the station before. They were a lupine species from a cold world far away. They looked like wolves that had learned to walk upright and build starships. They were known for their strong sense of honor, their pack loyalty, and their terrible temper when angered. This one was female, he realized. Her fur was lighter than the males he had seen, and her face was softer, more delicate. She was wearing simple clothes, a gray shirt, and dark pants. She did not look like a warrior or a thief. She looked like an ordinary person who had somehow ended up in the wrong bed. Marcus carefully pulled himself away from her. The movement made the bed shift, and the Valorian's eyes opened. For a moment, they just stared at each other. Her eyes were gold, bright and sharp, like two small suns. They went wide when she saw him. She moved fast, faster than Marcus expected. In one motion, she was on the other side of the bed, crouched low, her lips pulled back to show sharp white teeth. A growl came from deep in her throat. Marcus held up his hands. "Easy," he said. "I am not going to hurt you." The growling stopped. The Valorian's ears flicked forward, then back. She was confused, Marcus realized. She was just as surprised as he was. "Who are you?" she demanded. Her voice was rough, accented, but her words were clear. "Why are you in my sleeping berth?" Marcus blinked. "Your berth?" "This is my berth. I got the access codes yesterday." "Impossible. I have been assigned to berth 774 for 3 weeks now. The housing authority gave me proper documentation." They stared at each other. Marcus felt a strange urge to laugh. This was insane. The most secure lock on the station, DNA encoded and everything. And somehow they had both been given access to the same room. "Show me your documentation," Marcus said. The Valorian pulled out a data chip from her pocket. Marcus got his own chip from the desk. They compared them. Both chips said berth 774. Both had valid dates. Both had proper housing authority seals. "There must be a mistake," Marcus said. "Clearly." The Valorian's fur was still raised, but she had stopped showing her teeth. "I am Kira Vostal. I work in the Xenobiology Research Division." "Marcus Chen, cargo hauler." Kira's nose twitched. "You smell like engine grease and human sweat. You smell like wet dog." Her eyes narrowed dangerously. Then, to Marcus's surprise, she made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Fair enough, human. So what do we do now?" Marcus thought about it. He could fight her for the room, but that seemed stupid. She was bigger than him and had sharp teeth and claws. Besides, it was not her fault. This was clearly the housing authority's mistake. "We go to the housing authority," he said. "We explain the situation. They fix it." Kira nodded slowly. "Logical. I did not expect the human to be so reasonable." "What did you expect?" "Violence. Shouting. Humans have a reputation for being aggressive." Marcus smiled. "We also have a reputation for being adaptable. Come on. Let us go yell at some Quellen." They left the berth together and walked toward the lift. Other aliens watched them pass, a human and a Valorian side by side. It was an unusual sight. The two species rarely interacted. As they walked, Marcus studied Kira from the corner of his eye. She moved like a predator, smooth and quiet. Her ears rotated constantly, picking up sounds he could not hear. She was dangerous, he knew that. But she was also alone. No pack, no companions, no friends. He could see it in the way she held herself, the way she kept her distance from everyone around her. Marcus knew what it felt like to be alone. He had been alone for 6 months in his little ship, flying through the dark between stars. It did something to you. It made you hard and soft at the same time. He did not know what would happen next. He did not know if they would get separate rooms or have to share. He did not know if this wolf woman would become his enemy or his friend. But he did know one thing. Whatever happened, he would face it the human way. With patience, with reason, and with a willingness to adapt. That was what humans did best. They survived. The Housing Authority office was just as busy as before. Quellen workers moved between floating screens, their mandibles clicking as they processed endless forms. Marcus and Kira waited at the counter for 30 minutes before anyone looked at them. The official who finally helped them was the same one Marcus had dealt with yesterday. All 6 of its eyes studied them without expression. "What is the problem?" It asked. Marcus explained the situation. 2 people, 1 room. Double booking. The Quellen listened without interrupting, then turned to its screen and began typing. I see, it said after a long moment. Yes, both assignments are valid. The housing algorithm determined that you have compatible schedules. Compatible schedules? Kira's fur bristled. What does that mean? Humans sleep for 7 to 8 hours per cycle. Valorians sleep for 3 to 4 hours, multiple times per day. The algorithm calculated that you would rarely need the bed at the same time. This is efficient resource allocation. Marcus stared at the Quellen. You put us in the same room on purpose? The station has a housing shortage. The algorithm seeks to maximize space usage. You both fit. Therefore, you share. Kira's growl was low and dangerous. I do not share sleeping space with strangers. It is not done among my people. The Quellen was unmoved. You may request a transfer. The current wait time is 3 station months. 3 months? Marcus could not believe it. That is insane. Housing is limited. Demand is high. 3 months is the estimated wait time. The Quellen turned back to its screen. If you cannot share, one of you may return to previous accommodation. The other may keep the berth. That is your choice. Marcus looked at Kira. She looked back at him. Neither of them wanted to give up the room. For Marcus, the alternative was his cramped ship. For Kira, he did not know, but from the look in her eyes, it was not good. They left the office without speaking. The corridor outside was crowded with aliens of every shape and size. Marcus found an empty corner and leaned against the wall. Well, he said, that did not go as planned. Kira crossed her arms. Her tail was twitching, a sign of stress. I cannot go back to where I was before. I was sleeping in a storage room near my laboratory. It was cold and there were vermin. I was sleeping in my cargo ship. A space barely bigger than this. Marcus held his hands apart to show the size. My back still hurts. They looked at each other. 2 strangers with nowhere else to go. Among my people, Kira said slowly, sharing sleeping space is a sign of deep trust. Pack members sleep together. Outsiders do not. Among my people, Marcus replied, we share space all the time. Roommates, bunk beds, crowded apartments. We learn to make it work. Kira's ears flicked. Humans are strange creatures, so I have been told. There was a long silence. Finally, Kira spoke again. I have some credits saved. I can pay half of the rent. More than half, if needed. I will not be a burden. Marcus shook his head. That is not necessary. The rent is already paid for this month. Then I will pay for next month. And I will contribute in other ways. She lifted her chin proudly. I am a trained researcher. I have skills. I will not owe debts to anyone. Marcus understood then. This was about honor. Valorians had strict rules about obligations and debts. She could not accept his help without giving something in return. It would shame her. All right, he said. You cover rent. And we set rules. Clear boundaries. Agreed. They walked back to berth 774 together. The room seemed even smaller now that they were both looking at it. I sleep during the station night cycle, Marcus said. 7 hours, usually from 2200 to 0500. I sleep in shorter periods. 2 hours in the early morning, 2 hours in the afternoon, and sometimes 1 hour late at night. Kira looked at the bed. We will rarely overlap, but sometimes we will. Yes. They stood on opposite sides of the small room. The silence was awkward. The bed is big enough for 2, Marcus said. If we stay on our own sides. Kira's nose twitched. You do not know Valorians. We move in our sleep. We seek warmth, so you might end up on my side. It is possible. She looked embarrassed. It is instinct. I cannot control it. Marcus thought about it. He had shared beds before, with friends, with family, with lovers. It was not strange to him, but he understood that for her, it was different. Let us try for 1 week, he said. If it does not work, we figure out something else. Maybe we can get a second sleep mat for the floor. Kira nodded slowly. 1 week. I can agree to that. That night, Marcus lay on one side of the bed while Kira lay on the other. There was a careful space between them, a border neither crossed. Marcus stared at the ceiling, very aware of the warm presence beside him. He woke in the middle of the night to find Kira pressed against his back, her breath warm on his neck. She was still asleep, her body seeking heat like she said it would. Marcus did not move. He should have been uncomfortable. He should have pushed her away. But the truth was, her warmth felt nice. His cargo ship had always been cold. 6 months of sleeping alone in the dark had left him craving contact, even if he did not want to admit it. He closed his eyes and let himself relax. Her fur was soft against his skin. Her breathing was steady and calm. For the first time in a long time, Marcus did not feel alone. He fell back asleep with a smile on his face. 3 weeks passed. Marcus and Kira found their rhythm. Mornings were Marcus's time. He would wake early, shower, and head to the docks to check on his ship and look for cargo jobs. Kira would still be asleep, curled in a ball on her side of the bed. Though she usually drifted to his warm spot once he left, afternoons belonged to Kira. She worked in the xenobiology lab, studying alien life forms from distant worlds. When Marcus came home tired from hauling crates, she would be gone, leaving the room neat and organized. Evenings they shared. It started small. A meal together at the cheap food stalls on level 12. A conversation about their days. Kira was curious about human cargo routes, and Marcus was fascinated by her research on alien biology. One night, Marcus taught her to play poker. She was terrible at first. Valerians showed their emotions in their ears and tails, and Marcus could read her tells easily. But she learned fast, and soon she was winning half the games. "You humans invented this game to cheat each other," she said one evening, studying her cards with narrowed eyes. "We invented it to have fun," Marcus replied. "The cheating is just a bonus." She laughed at that. Her laugh was strange, more like a bark than a human laugh. But Marcus liked the sound of it. Kira started helping with his cargo business. Her nose was incredibly sensitive. She could smell things humans could not, like chemicals hidden in containers or food that had gone bad. Once, she detected a dangerous gas leak in a cargo hold before it could explode. The dockmaster paid Marcus extra for finding it. "Your nose is worth its weight in gold," Marcus told her. "My nose is part of my face," she replied. "I cannot remove it and sell it. It is an expression. It means you are valuable." Her ears perked up at that. Humans have strange expressions. They grew comfortable with each other. The careful distance in bed became smaller. Some mornings, Marcus woke with Kira's head on his chest, her ear pressed against his heart. He did not mind. The warmth was nice, but Kira never talked about her past. Whenever Marcus asked about her family or her world, she changed the subject. He did not push. Everyone had secrets. Then, one evening, everything changed. They were eating dinner at their usual food stall when Kira suddenly went stiff. Her ears flattened against her skull. Her eyes locked on something across the crowded market. "What is wrong?" Marcus asked. "We need to leave. Now." But it was too late. 3 Valerians were walking toward them. They were larger than Kira, with darker fur and harder eyes. The one in front had scars across his muzzle and moved with the confidence of someone used to being obeyed. "Kira was tall," the scarred one said. His voice was cold. "Your brother has been searching for you." Kira stood slowly. Her tail was tucked between her legs, a sign of submission or fear. "Torek, I did not expect the pack to send hunters this far. You brought shame to our family. Father wants you home to face judgment. I am not coming back." The three Valorians growled in unison. It was a terrifying sound, deep and primal. Other aliens in the market hurried away, not wanting to get involved. Marcus stood up. The Valorians were twice his size and had claws that could tear him apart. But he was not going to sit there and watch them threaten his roommate. "Is there a problem here?" he asked. Tarek looked at him like he was looking at an insect. "This does not concern you, human." "She is with me. That makes it my concern." The Valorians laughed. It was not a friendly sound. "With you, a human? You have no pack, no clan, no strength. You are nothing." Marcus did not back down. Humans had faced worse than wolf aliens with bad attitudes. They had survived ice ages, plagues, wars, and the cold emptiness of space. One angry Valorian was not going to make Marcus Chun run away. "I claim protection rights," Marcus said. He was not sure if such a thing existed in Valorian law, but it sounded official. Tarek's eyes widened slightly. Then he laughed again, but there was less certainty in it now. "Protection rights? You? What pack do you represent?" "My own." Marcus stepped forward, putting himself between Kira and her brother. "She shares my den. She eats my food. She sleeps in my territory. By any standard that matters, she is under my protection." There was a long silence. The other two Valorians looked at Torek, waiting for orders. Kira stared at Marcus like she had never seen him before. "You do not know what you are claiming," Torek said slowly. "Protection rights are sacred among our people. If you cannot prove your bond, the punishment is severe." "Then tell me what I need to prove." Torek studied him. There was something new in his eyes now. Not respect, not quite, but something close to curiosity. Humans were strange creatures, unpredictable. This one had just challenged 3 Valorian warriors without hesitation. "There is a ritual," Torek said. "A test of bond. If you pass, your claim is valid and Kira is yours to protect. If you fail, she returns with us and you face punishment for false claims." Marcus looked at Kira. She was shaking her head slightly, trying to tell him not to do this. But Marcus had made his choice. "I will take your test," he said. Tarek smiled, showing all his teeth. "Then we will see what humans are truly made of." The ritual took place in an empty cargo bay on the station's lower levels. Torek had arranged it. No station security, no witnesses except the Valorians and Kira. Marcus stood in the center of the bay, stripped to the waist. The metal floor was cold under his bare feet. Kira stood to the side, her face a mask of worry. "The test has 3 parts," Tarek announced. "Endurance, trust, and sacrifice. These are the pillars of pack bonding. A true protector must prove all 3. Marcus nodded. His heart was beating fast, but his face showed nothing. Humans were good at hiding fear. They had learned that predators respected strength, even fake strength. The first test was endurance. One of Tarek's warriors brought out a metal rod that glowed red with heat. Without warning, he pressed it against Marcus's shoulder. The pain was incredible. Marcus felt his skin burn, smelled his own flesh cooking. But he did not scream. He gritted his teeth and stayed silent, staring straight ahead. Humans had high pain thresholds. Their ancestors had survived injuries that would kill most species. This was just fire. Marcus had felt worse. After 30 seconds, the rod was removed. Marcus's shoulder was marked with an angry red burn, but he was still standing. Tarek looked surprised. "Most break at the first test," he admitted. "Humans are stronger than I thought." The second test was trust. Kira was brought forward. She was given a knife, a sharp Valorian blade that could cut through bone. Place the knife against his throat, Torek ordered. If he flinches, he fails. Kira's hand was shaking as she lifted the knife. Her eyes met Marcus's, full of fear and guilt. She did not want to do this. Marcus smiled at her. "It is okay," he said softly. "I trust you." She pressed the cold blade against his neck. One wrong movement and his blood would spill across the floor. But Marcus did not flinch. He did not even blink. He just looked into Kira's golden eyes and breathed slowly. After 1 minute, Torek signaled for her to stop. Kira pulled the knife away quickly, tears forming in her eyes. "Impressive," Torek said. His voice had changed. There was real respect there now. But the final test is the hardest. The third test was sacrifice. Torek explained it simply. Marcus had to walk across the cargo bay on broken glass, carrying Kira on his back. If he dropped her or stopped, he failed. The glass was spread across 20 meters of floor. Sharp pieces that caught the light like tiny stars. Marcus looked at it and took a deep breath. "Get on," he told Kira. "Marcus, you do not have to do this. I can go with them. It is not worth your pain." He turned to face her. "Yes, it is. You are worth it. Now get on my back." She climbed on carefully, wrapping her arms around his neck. She was heavier than he expected, dense with muscle and bone. Marcus adjusted his balance and faced the glass. The first step hurt. The second step was worse. By the fifth step, he could feel blood running down his feet. The glass cut deep, slicing through skin and into flesh. Every step was agony, but Marcus kept walking. Humans were persistence hunters. Long ago, on a planet called Earth, they had chased their prey for days without stopping. They did not have claws or fangs or speed. They just had endurance. They could keep going when everything else had to stop. Marcus called on that ancient strength now. Step after step, leaving bloody footprints behind him. Kira was whimpering against his shoulder, feeling his pain through their contact. Halfway across, his vision started to blur. The pain was too much. His body wanted to stop, to collapse, to give up. But he thought of Kira. He thought of their small room, their shared meals, her warm body pressed against his at night. He thought of how alone he had been before her and how full his life felt now. He was not going to lose that. Not for anything. He took another step. And another. And another dot. When he finally reached the other side, he fell to his knees. Blood pooled around him. Kira slid off his back and knelt beside him, pressing her hands against his wounds. The cargo bay was silent. Torek and his warriors stood frozen, staring at the human who had just done the impossible. "It is done," Marcus said, his voice rough with pain. "Is my claim valid?" Torek walked forward slowly. For a long moment, he just looked at Marcus, at the blood and the burns and the determination still burning in his eyes. Then, to everyone's surprise, he knelt. "Your claim is valid," Torek said. "You have proven your bond beyond any doubt. Kira Vostal is under your protection." The pack releases her. Kira made a sound that was half sob, half laugh. She pressed her face against Marcus's chest, her whole body shaking. Torek stood and looked at his sister. "You chose well," he said quietly. "This human has more honor than many Valorians I know." He turned and walked away, his warriors following. Later, back in their small room, Kira bandaged Marcus's feet while he lay on the bed. His shoulder was treated, his wounds cleaned. He would heal. Humans always healed. "You did not have to do that," Kira said softly. "You barely know me. I know enough." Marcus reached out and touched her face. "I know you snore. I know you steal the blankets. I know you make a little sound when you dream. I know you laugh at my jokes, even when they are not funny. That is enough for me." Kira's eyes were wet. "By Valorian law, we are now pact bonded. It is like marriage, but deeper. You cannot undo it." "Good," Marcus smiled. "Because I do not want to." She lay down beside him, careful of his wounds. Her head rested on his chest, her ear pressed against his heartbeat. They lay there in silence for a long time. A week later, the housing authority contacted them. 2 separate berths had become available. Would they like to transfer? Marcus looked at Kira. She looked back at him. Her tail was wagging slightly. "No," Marcus said. "We will stay where we are." The Quellan official made a clicking sound of confusion. "But you requested a transfer. We changed our minds." That night, they lay together in their small bed, in their small room, at the edge of known space. Kira was warm against his side, her breathing slow and steady. "You know," Marcus murmured, "I really should change that lock code." Kira laughed, her breath warm against his neck. "Why start now?" He pulled her closer and closed his eyes. Outside, the stars turned slowly in the endless dark. But Marcus Chen was not alone anymore. He was finally home.